Hey, so what do you think, buddy? Think we should do a podcast or what?
Yeah, man. I think we should do one of those things.
You want to do a podcast on this beautiful summer day? Are you sure?
I'm sure, man.
Are you sure that you love photography that much that you don't want to just go and frolic on the island or something like that?
Well, mainly my ankle's still screwed up, so I don't really have much else to do. It's kind of a B priority, but yeah, we can do a podcast.
See, I was trying to set you up for giving yourself some real cred there, man. Like you could have taken that opportunity to be like, yes, my passion and commitment to the art of photography will always propel me forward, but.
I'll always take the joke before I take the credit.
Yeah.
Always.
You'll always take the self-deprecating joke before the credit, right?
100%.
Yeah, man. I think you've got your what do you call them? Crutches?
I got them crutches.
Yeah, you got them crutches right in frame there, boss. So.
Oh yeah, I figured that it actually just makes sense to be right next to me, but also that it's a prop. It's like we watch this back. 20 years from now, we're on episode 4068. We got Ariana Grande in here. She's like, some 50-year-old Julianne Moore kind of looking person now.
Famed photographer Ariana Grande, yeah.
100%. 100%. Everyone has a phase, right? And look back, hey, that's when I messed up my ankle.
Yeah, so well, I remember my pop princess phase. I remember that, but it didn't last long.
No,
just wasn't meant to be, man. No, the industry, you know how it is.
It's tough. It's competitive.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of the music industry, dear listeners, I've got something to talk about here. I've actually had a bit of a YouTube breakthrough just here recently, so we can talk a little bit about that as the intro music rolls. And I got my first 1K in a day, and I've got a YouTube video that I uploaded yesterday on the Nerd channel. We're calling it Metal Nerd now. I've been doing some metal content and taking a page out of Michael Costa's book. I saw his rampant success and all of his fans, international network of fans that Michael Costa has accrued on YouTube. And I thought I'd do a little bit of reactions myself, and it's been going really well. A lot of comments, a lot of them telling me that I suck and I should go away. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, it helps the algorithm either way, guys. So
you having fun?
Way. Yeah.
You having fun doing it?
Oh, it's super fun, man. It's super fun.
Nice.
And I do like to make people upset, so.
I've noticed.
Yeah, Michael's noticed. Yeah, exactly. All right, that's probably good enough. You want to do the song?
Yeah, it's all you, man. You got it.
I got a song for you guys today. Today, one of Michael Costa's favorite bands, Weezer. You like Weezer, right, Michael Costa?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I like one of their most recent albums, actually.
Oh, really?
A lot.
What's their old album there? What's it called? The one that everyone loves with the sweater song on there.
I can tell you in
Pinkerton?
-2 seconds.
Pinkerton.
Might be.
Pinkerton.
Might be.
I think so. Anyways. This is a Weezer song, not off of Pinkerton. This is, this isn't off any Weezer album because this is a Photobros song, but based loosely off of a Weezer track, I'll say. Okay. See that? Build the anticipation. Now my camera thinks that my headstock is my face. Close camera. Similar.
I am now confirming it is Pinkerton, confirming that 1996.
It's an early,
the album
early Weezer.
Early Weezer. Pacific Daydream is the one that I was referring to. Great album there, 2017. Go give it a listen. But here we have a Photobros semi-original.
Yep.
Here with Jared. Take it away, man. Show us what you got.
Thanks, buddy. Here we go. I can't stop podcasting. I can't stop podcasting. I set the aperture. I set the shutter speed. I set the ISO, baby. It's the Photo Bros.
Woo! Was my clapping messing up your tempo?
No, I'm just not good at playing that song.
Oh, okay.
Had nothing to do with the clapping. Dear listeners, welcome to the Photography Brothers, where we do really bad renditions of Weezer songs. And we do other things, like talk about photography. Isn't that right? Did I say that I'm your photographer, Jared Poirier? I'm your photographer, Jared Poirier. Over there's another photographer.
over here, Michael Costa. How you guys doing? I also take photos with a camera, and that basically means I'm a photographer.
Hey, that's true. Sometimes I take photos. I take videos and photos, so photographer and videographer. But if we would try to call it the Videography Brothers, that would be a really janky.
Let's be honest, we're all media companies now. Like, that's all we are, right?
Yeah, we're all social media. It's just content, man. We're all just
content.
We're all just making that content these days. Content is king, after all, right? And that's why we're here, to serve the content gods, to give some content to the almighty algorithm, and that's what we're gonna do. And we have an excellent topic today, brought to you by me. And
to think about it.
Yeah. And then later on, we're going to be doing a news story. So excited to get into all of that type of stuff. Let's just jump into it, man. What is today's topic?
I mean, I can intro your topic if you want. It is basically,
I talk too much anyways.
It's earning respect as a photographer.
Oh,
right. Did I prep the right stuff? Was earning respect, right? All right.
No, today we're going to be actually discussing the movie Isle of Dogs. But good.
I thought that's what you said. And I actually, we're good. I have it. I have that as a backup.
Okay, you got
so
that. All right,
we're
dogs.
good to go. A solid 5 out of 10. I was thinking.
Whoa, that's going to be a lot of heat.
Oh,
no, let's jump ship right now. We're not talking about Isle of Dogs. We're talking about getting respect as a photographer. And, we have a lot of fun here on the podcast. You guys know that. That's why you come to the podcast, dear listeners. I'm assuming you come here for fun and to stay abreast with all of the latest in photography. But sometimes we need to get a little bit serious. And one serious topic that we need to discuss here is, of course, getting respect as a photographer. And it's something that definitely comes up. I think it's bound to come up in any career, really, but especially creative field, right? I feel like that's something that comes up for just about anybody, especially people who don't have like a big brand behind them that's already established. And that's kind of, what me and Michael do. Me with Galaxy and got a rep, Galaxy. And Michael with the Growing Photographer. We're kind of building up our own brands and trying to get legitimacy and getting a bit of respect for ourselves, for our own thing. And it can be a tough thing to do, right, Michael?
Yeah, I can. I think like something that we've talked about in the past that almost ties into this is just like, honestly, I think a lot of the topics that we've talked about in the past tie into this, but it's like, transitioning from, shooting free to shooting paid work. And then, it's once you make that transition, it's like knowing when to put your foot down and stuff like that. We'll get into the tips here and there, but I think this is a great tip for growing photographers for sure. Yeah,
there's certainly an art to it, right? Like we could easily we're gonna call the episode like how to get respect, so that I can put RESPECT on the thumbnail. But we could just as easily call it standing up for yourself. Sorry, a bug came in there and distracted me. Easily call it, standing up for yourself as a photographer. And there's going to be moments that you have to do that. But I think before we can really dive in here, we're going to get into some tips, as we always do on the show. Get into the meat of it here. Share some of our experience. I won't promise you any wisdom, but I can promise you that we've shot photos and got paid money. That is what I can promise you. But I think before we do that, we have to define terms a little bit, right? So what do we really mean? Like, what are we talking about specifically when it comes to, getting respect or being disrespected even as a photographer? What is that? What are we talking about?
I guess like the way I interpreted it was almost like, demanding respect in like knowing your worth, and then, like not being pushed over, by clients.
Yeah. What do you mean by pushed over though?
I'm trying not to take points away from my tips, but it's like ultimately it's like, oh, can you stay an extra hour? Can you take these extra photos of this and that? Things that weren't agreed upon in advance. Yeah.
Yeah, we signed up for 30 photos, but you know what? Like, I saw you really shooting a lot. Why don't you give us 50 and we'll still pay you the same or something?
Right? Exactly.
And you're like, oh, come on, really? Like, yeah, that type of thing. And those are both. Yeah, that's kind of all that I really needed there, just some concrete examples. And other times, it can definitely be like very work-related things, but sometimes it's something else. Sometimes it's not respecting the process, right? And you and I have definitely come up against that in the past where, clients just think like, oh, you just come in, you take a couple photos and you can send those over. And, that is truer with photography than it is with video. When people are like, asking me for videos with like a 1-day turnaround and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I guess you want it like not color graded. I guess you don't care about anything. Like, I don't know. But,
just butt all the footage together and export it out.
That's it. Yeah. Leaving all the mistakes, all the retakes. There's actually 12 takes of this. Yeah. Well, I had 1 day. No, that's not what we want to do. We want to be nice to our clients here. And we're going to get into some, that is kind of the whole point here is, it's easy to stand up for yourself all the time and just be that bully, right? That's like one tactic that I think people take in business and in other ways in life, right? How they get what they want is just like a truck. They'll just drive through everybody and get it, right? And there's other ways of doing it. Like there's other ways of kind of strategically getting that respect that you deserve, and at the end of the day, getting paid what you deserve as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're good. You want to jump into some of the tips? You want to go first?
Sure. You kind of touched on it there, but my first tip is knowing your rates. And when I say knowing your rates, I mean like really understanding what that means. And again, this is another situation. We've had topics come up in the past regarding rates, so definitely go check those out. Yep. But understanding your rate means understanding your value. And as we were talking about recently, you're going to have people that, especially earlier on in your career, they're going to be able to recognize that, and they're going to try and ask you for more photos, more time, quicker turnaround. And you need to, understand what that means in the context of your bandwidth. And again, your value. And I think the more you understand that, the more you're going to be able to speak to it.
Yeah, being specific with those packages, right? And giving like a very specific expectation of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, right? Like having things agreed upon going into it, is a big part of it for sure.
100%. Yeah. And you know what? Like some people will, argue with you on that. And those aren't clients you want to have, but I think the individuals that, that hear you kind of vocalize that sometimes they're not maybe as intimate with the marketing side of things or with the content generation side of things, and they just don't understand. It could be a misconception. You'll earn their respect by standing up for yourself.
Oh yeah. And I think the important thing to understand at this stage, like, we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into this, but you really have to understand that like this is gonna happen. You will be challenged. There are gonna be people who are they're going to challenge you. They're gonna say, oh, hey man, exactly what Michael said. Well, could you stay an extra hour? Could you this and that? And sometimes you can. Sometimes it's okay to do that. But choosing your battles is going to be part of this. But we're going to give you the tactics that you're going to need. And that first thing, charging enough and outlining things like very precisely of like why you're charging that and like what process is involved, right? Kind of the first point. I've got another one. Believe it or not, Michael was spying on me again, which is crazy. And like, I just kind of, I've been spotting those guys like with their binoculars when I go out, right? And I had to go to the guitar store today, get a new strings for my guitar, and freaking guys with binoculars there. And Michael Costa, they all look like Michael Costa too. They're like his army. And
100%.
Especially, he can't do his own recon work anymore now that his ankle's busted there. So,
what's actually happening is I have a plane that passes by your place every Sunday in the morning.
Reconnaissance
and there's a massive mirror that is on the bottom of that plane, and I use my 70 to 2000.
Wow!
And,
from your house?
From my house, and just perfect angle. A lot of math involved, but. Yeah,
that's what it's all about. We're a big math podcast.
Yeah.
All right. So, we are 100%. We're all about the math. One other way that you can do it is exactly what we talked about earlier. Like, if you're not going to be a big brand, like if you're not going to have some type of, franchise behind you, something that people have heard of, a lot of like brand recognition. I think it is still better to develop your own brand in some respect, right? I think that you get a lot more like legitimacy and respect when you're coming and saying like, I'm the creative director, and even if you have like a team of people behind you, like at least an editor or like a second shooter or something like that, that type of thing like really legitimizes you. Having a website, like social media presence, these things are kind of no-brainers, but this is definitely a big part of it. Like, if you're just a guy with a camera and you say you're a photographer or whatever, like that's great, but that doesn't really separate you from like that many people. Like, how much money does it cost to get like a decent camera and you can shoot photos? $500. So having like some type of personal brand, and content as well, that website, that social media, YouTube, podcast. You need to make 5 videos a week. No, I'm just kidding. But you don't have to be like me and Michael, but you can make some stuff and at least build up some type of brand that has a reputation, get some Google reviews and stuff. I think is a good second point, right?
100%. Yeah, I think a lot of people make the mistake early on of just relying on their Instagram, and I think Instagram is a great platform for discoverability. But like Jared mentioned, like just like how you try to create a vibe, a feeling in your photos, like you want to utilize your website to create that specific thing as well. How you want to come across to your target audience. And so I think once people enter your website, it's clean. Like Jared mentioned, you have a logo, you have your portfolio right there, organized very cleanly, exactly how you want it. Instagram, you're kind of limited that way. You upload some of your best images, and then after a few weeks of uploading consistently, they're drowned. So you have the ability to highlight the images you want to highlight. Highlight your pricing, your branding, a lot of the work that you've done in the past. It's a vibe that you get to create.
This feels so much like an ad for Squarespace. I feel like we're going to bust into that. So, you know what I mean?
I know, right?
It's not. No. Use whatever website. Until one of them gives us money, use whatever one you want.
This video is brought to you by Circle Space.
Sure. Freaking triangle space, dog. It's I don't know why. I feel like I'm like
this is a pyramid scheme.
I feel like I'm Canadianing it up more on the podcast than usual. Like
with the A's.
I don't know, and the buddies and everything.
Oh man, what's that about?
What's that about? Yeah. And earlier I played a good tune. Let me play a tune for you guys, for you buddies. For my buddies here. I don't know. Anyways, that's not important. What is important is that we get into the next tip here. Do you got another one? Because I have another one.
Yeah, I have a couple. I'll do one quickly so that way we can get through them. I think one is just having a process on the day. they can very evidently tell like when you're kind of scrambling to get things together. You're looking around like, what should I do first? There's a little bit of pre-planning that you can do in advance, but in general, just having a process that you like to do. You show up, okay, I'm setting up my tripod, setting up this, and that. When you're packing up, it's streamlined. You know exactly what you want to do. It comes across like you know what you're doing. And it's another thing that can help you earn some respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And won't give the client like any reason to complain. I think is like a really important thing, right? I've been getting to gigs like early, man. Like I don't even care. I'll go for like an hour. I'll be an hour early. Like these days, I'm crazy like that. Like these days, man.
You're maniac.
I'm reading this book, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And it says the army that wins is the army that gets to the battlefield first. That's like one piece of wisdom in that book. There's a lot. Ooh. And yeah, so that's kind of, that's kind of how I've been approaching things. But yeah, just being like very professional, have all your gear charged up and just make that client happy. That's at the end of the day, like your job is to make that client happy. Like what we're in a weird way, like it is an art, but we're also doing a service type of business, right? Like it is kind of like serving someone at a restaurant or something like that. And then another industry where people get mad disrespected. Until you find a way to get respect. And that's what we're trying to help you guys with today. And in order to get through these, I mean, we're having a good time. I do want to get as many of these out there. I do think they are valuable and they are experience based. So it is pretty cool. I think I've got a bunch here, but one that I definitely want to talk about is just like it kind of ties in with the personal brand and like the branding element of it, but just like dressing well, right? Like how you're presenting yourself. I mean, like this is the podcast. You guys are always here, right? I love you guys. You're always here. If I didn't shave today, but it's more of a personal thing. I'm wearing my girlfriend's Pink Floyd shirt. I thought you guys would be bored with the Def Leppard at this point, so busting out. That's why it looks tight on my muscles a little bit.
Is that the grandpa hat backwards too?
Got the grandpa hat, repping for grandpas. But yeah, when you go to that gig, man, and I've seen Michael when he goes to his shoots, right? He's dressed up like Pitbull. Like he looks good,
Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, present yourself well. It ties in with that thing of just like, pleasing that client, giving them nothing to complain about, like just making sure that their needs are met and they're taken care of. And like, especially if it's a new client. Like when I started with Ascari, I was like wearing suits and stuff, I'd like come to the shoot wearing a suit, you know what I mean?
Jared's sweating buckets.
Sweating because it was live streams too, and live streams are already stressful. Woo! That's going to be good on the mic. I'm going to have to turn that one down. Arrow, remember to turn that one down, buddy, please. Yeah. Dressing for the part, though, is something that's important, right? And it ties in with, like, the gear that you're bringing and that checklist and everything, just, like, another way that you can take care of the client, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. That's a really, really good tip. And I think, that there are situations where you'll understand that you can dress a little differently, like, if you're shooting something that's like a personal project or something, that's different, right? Like, you're asking people to come in. It's more collaborative, behind
the scenes video. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. You want to dress comfortable, whatever. But of course, like we're talking about being professional, showing up to a gig. We're talking about a business that you're showing up to provide, professional assets for. So you want to dress the part. Great tip, man. Great tip.
Yep. You got another one?
I do. I have one more.
You have one more? Okay, good.
Yeah. Communication skills. So a couple of the examples I had here, we talked about, your setup process, packing up and all that stuff. Especially for setting up, one thing that's going to help a lot is asking questions in advance. Asking the questions that you need to know. Where do you need to be? What exactly the deliverables have to look like? Are they more so looking for a portrait or landscape format? Is there a specific resolution? If we're talking about video, what are you looking for? What do you need to know as a person who's delivering those assets? The other thing as well is communicating the deliverables that you have that you are going to be giving to them, right? So maybe you have your package outlined outlined online, but again, just verbally communicate to them, and then what those timelines are going to look like for getting those deliverables in their hands.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, man. Just educating that client, right? Like every step of the way, and the prep, right? And having those meetings in advance as well. Like how much time is it really going to cost you? And you can even bill them for them, right? If the meetings are extensive, like you can totally bill for that time, right? Those hours of meetings and whatnot. And yeah, always worth doing. Like the more comfortable that people are when they get to set, I think is a big part of it. And don't try to do too much either. If someone's like, oh, come over, we're going to shoot 5 videos, maybe be like, okay. Or they're like, oh, let's do a photo shoot, 5 different costumes. How long will that take? Like 2 hours, right? Okay.
How many times do you get that, dude? Like,
all the time,
what are they going to take? Like maybe half an hour?
What
maybe
do you
15?
mean it's going to take 4 hours? Come on, please. Please, guys, understand if there's nothing, if you are a person who hires creative talent, like just understand that we are here to serve you. Like our interest is getting that best thing to you, right? As best as we can make it. And that's all we really want is for you to like, let us do that at the end of the day, right? It ties in really well with my last one. I have, and we talked about this a bit. I wrote develop a reputation, and then I wrote in brackets for being crazy.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I thought about not even using this one. I mean, the reputation thing is definitely true. And we talked about that earlier, right? Like, obviously, a good reputation is being an effective, like, creative and delivering on time, and the stuff is good, right? What I mean by being, for being crazy, I think like kind of playing up a little bit on that like artist trope, right? Where we're like kind of the obsessive artist, and I am that a little bit, right? To my own detriment sometimes, not always. But I find myself playing on that, like exactly what you were saying. This is a weird tip. Maybe don't use it. But it works personally for me. Like when, you were talking about, people expect it to be done in less time. And, I've gotten some of my clients used to the fact that I'm just like, I don't work like that. Like there's other things that you can rush. And what I do, like photos, video, you can't rush it. You can't rush it. The photos are going to, like, if your model is in a frickin' rush and you're taking photos,
oh man,
you can absolutely tell. You can absolutely tell in the photos, and it just ruins it, And honestly, like my interest is creating the best stuff, the most effective, creative assets, whatever you want to call it, that I can. And yeah, I don't know. This turned into a plea. a plea to all the potential photography customers out there
I mean, look, I love that you touched on like, rushing, because I think that's something that, we haven't like touched on that too much. Like we reference the fact that like people will ask you to, but like at the end of the day, like it is your reputation, right? Like that's kind of what that's what you're talking about. And when you rush work, that is forever going, after you hit send, that is forever going to be that client's impression of what you can produce. And, what is that going to mean for word of mouth when it comes to that person? I don't know. If you guys have been watching Loki, I'm pretty sure that timeline's being blown up. So, I don't think anything's stemming from that opportunity. I'm pretty proud of that analogy, by the way.
I'm super confused because I fell off my MCU stuff. So
no.
Yeah, I used to be the guy that knew everything, and I was like, yeah, Thanos' older brother like used to bully him or whatever. Now I know very little. Okay, so welcome to Photography Brothers News, and Michael was responsible for this week's news, and Michael's got a very interesting. I think we're gonna both have quite a bit to say about this news, so I'm looking forward to diving into it. Something that I'm not looking forward to doing is this part of the podcast right here. This is going to be the sad part of the podcast. As you guys know, this is a Canadian podcast. Both Michael and I are a couple of Canadian guys, and I just kind of feel like it would be dishonest and irresponsible of us to do like a news segment about photography or anything without talking about this, right? So what a lot of people are thinking about in Canada right now is the whole situation with Aboriginals and the residential schools and whatnot. So I just want to talk a little bit to that and kind of keep everybody up to date and give a little bit of our perspective, if that's cool. So if you haven't been following the news recently in Canada, a big thing has been the fact that things are getting exposed related to the history with residential schools. And, there was the initial shock of 215, missing kids that were found at a residential school. And then another like 700 or so. So, we're at like between like BC and Saskatchewan already. We're at, around 1,000 kids. And this is a big part of Canada's history, right? Like if you go look back at like the Indian Act and residential schools and stuff, this all started in 1883, the kind of residential school program, and it was running until 1996, right? So, I said this, Michael and I were both alive, right? Like we were 6 years old, or at least I was 6 years old when this stuff was going on. So I don't know. It's just bad, I guess is what I want to say. And I just kind of felt like we had to talk a little bit about it. And it seems like this is an opportunity for Canada, right, to look at our history and be honest with ourselves about it. And it doesn't help anybody to not be aware of those type of things. So I think I encourage you guys to just go read up on that stuff a little bit about residential schools and kind of just know what happened. And maybe, government policy is going to get a little bit different after that. So anyways, not to bum everybody out, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's good to bring it up. I think it's something that like a lot of people didn't, especially Canadians, right? Like a lot of people didn't realize how long this went on for. You just mentioned right there, 1996. That's, it shouldn't have happened to begin with. To think that it happened that long is crazy. To hear the stories that are surfacing, to the bodies that are unfortunately piling up. It is incredibly sad. It's hard. It's honestly, it's like a little difficult to speak on it because it's just so it is honestly so tragic. And one thing that I've always kind of thought about a little bit was the fact that all these countries have these rich cultural backgrounds. Yeah. And I feel like whenever someone comes here and they ask us about, our traditions and our cultural, upbringings and stuff like that, and like what's unique to us, you look at other countries and they have such rich backgrounds. And for us, it's like, I feel like the scapegoat answer has always just been like, oh yeah, like we're just like super diverse and like we have tons of, different representation. But the truth is that we've honestly neglected, our history. And, I think for all the bad that is this situation, I have a slight, sliver of light coming through in that, this pandemic has really led us to shed some light on topics in general that needed to be brought up and conversations that needed to happen with Black Lives Matter and etc. And I'm glad that finally this is something that is being brought up and hopefully there's some real change happening. Yeah. We'll see what we can do, and to the extent that we can lend a hand here on the Bros, we will do that. So let's get into our actual photography-related news story today. Michael, you got the news title, and I'm gonna make this really hard for Michael. Okay, so Michael, what's the resource, the website that this came from, the title of the article, and the author of today's news story? Well, my browser just crashed.
Oh, perfect.
Right, literally just crashed. So if you, I can tell you right now,
It's probably
as
from
I
Petapixel.
launch
If
this
I had to
back
guess,
up,
if I had to guess,
it is Petapixel.
Oh, shocked! I'm shocked.
Yeah,
This
I
is
know.
the look of
I
shock.
know. We're starting to recognize that there's some good work on Petapixel.
Yeah, shout out to Petapixel,
and
yo.
so shout out Petapixel, sponsor us. Cough. So.
That'd be nice.
So here's what we wanted to talk about. Now, again, this is another situation where we do have to kind of like watch what we say here, because there is a photography aspect to speak about, but then there's a real life, real life implications that also happen here. And so we have to be very careful on how we talk about this. But so the title of this article is "How a Photojournalist Captured a Shot in the Literal Heat of the Moment," by Christina Hawatmeh.
And I've got to drop this. It was the heat of the moment, telling me what your heart meant.
So that was a thing, and so
We have fun here. We have fun on the podcast.
We like to have fun here. We like to have fun here. So I'll just read a little bit about it, and then just touch on who took the image, and then we'll discuss it just briefly. If a fire broke out and you could only grab one thing, what would it be? For many, that question will always stay hypothetical. But for the residents of Anonas, and my apologies if I mispronounce this, Anonas Street in Santa Mesa, Manila,
Which is in the Philippines.
On one fateful day in 2020, it suddenly became the reality that would change their lives permanently. Now, unfortunately, what happened here was, a fire sparked up. A lot of these houses are built out of kind of like cheaper materials. They're very tight together, and so it's very easy for these fires to spread. And so that's largely what you're looking at here. There was a lot of damage obviously done, but there was someone there to document it, and that's something that I think is going to be interesting to talk about. The photographer's name is I see Jansen here. I'm sure he has a last
Romero.
name.
Jansen Romero.
Perfect. Thank you for that, good
Got your
sir.
back, buddy. I got your back.
Not a hobby photographer. He is a professional. He shoots for the Manila Bulletin and a few other notable articles or publications.
We'll try to get him on the pod.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine, from his perspective. But, obviously, this is a situation again. A lot happened here. A lot of loss. But it's interesting to like speak about images, that have these tragic outcomes, but have been captured to document that and what that means. We talk about the Burning Man image, of course, with the monk. We talk about the Falling Man image, 9/11. This is another one of those images where, I don't know if it's been receiving, poor criticism or anything like that, like in regards to like tastefulness. But it's basically, if you're an audio listener, what we're looking at here is an image. A house is burning down, and you have a man who is clearly a resident of one of these homes, and he's carrying one of his two dogs. And that's why, in the beginning of this article, they mentioned the hypothetical that you constantly get asked: if your house was, burning down, what would be the thing you would grab? And obviously this man here, a hero, decided to save his dogs. It's an interesting thing. When you received like this article, like what was something that was kind of going through your head?
Well, I think he said that he's carrying one of his two dogs. Isn't he carrying both dogs? Yeah,
he's carrying two dogs. Yeah, my apologies if I said that. I meant
the way
the two dogs,
Michael said it, it sounded like he left one of the dogs behind, and I was like, "Wow, we can't."
No.
There's certain things that I'll let slide, but telling people that this guy left a dog behind.
No, he's a hero. This man is a hero. He saved both dogs.
It's not one of them.
No.
Anyways, what this, me and Michael, I don't know what it is. I think maybe we're on the same wavelength, because I was definitely thinking the exact same thing. Like this is it's just a cool photo to talk about, first of all. But the most interesting thing about this is the discussion around, like, photojournalism, right? Like capturing, you're capturing tragic stuff and you're trying to be impartial. And I just reading this story, right? I'm just kind of putting myself in the point of view of, you know, when you hear the descriptions of like the guy saying, oh yeah, it was getting really hard to shoot the photo because like people were trying they were like trying to salvage their belongings and their life, and like I just had a hard time getting these photos.
Yeah, I can imagine. Jeez.
So just interesting to think about, like if you were there and this guy's taking these photos, like how you would feel. You'd be like, what is this guy doing? Like he's not helping us get these dogs out of here. But at the same time, like that's photojournalism, right? Like that's documenting everyday life. And, you know, you can say what you want about artists who put out things that are, you know, maybe someone might view this as like grotesque or something like that, that he would do this, or, you know, some of the photos that Michael mentioned earlier, you know, and even, you know, photos that document war. Like there's very famous photos from the Vietnam War and things like that, you know, it's not great to look at, but it is part of history, and it's something that you should know, right? And the fact that like that was documented, it does make it harder to ignore. And yeah, man, like we wouldn't be talking about this fire in the Philippines and stuff like that, and even really thinking about that if it wasn't for this guy, right? And the fact that like, oh, why did this like horrible fire happen? And maybe, you know, the infrastructure needs to be better there, and let's talk about, you know, the global distribution of wealth or whatever, right? Like this type of thing, you know, that's really getting into the next level of it. But like, if this guy doesn't take a photo, then, you know, we're not thinking about that and we're not talking about that. So as much as it, there is like a moral, there's a moral thing to photography.
It's a line,
right?
Yeah, it's a line. I think like, and for anyone who's listening and is kind of like trying to understand the two sides of it, I think Jared mentioned there very well, like it, you know, there's having that ability as someone who does this as a living, who can capture a good image to document that moment, and an image can speak 1,000 words and can move a nation. We've seen it happen before. It can be a very powerful thing, and so to have this visibly is something that makes you reflect personally, and again can make changes happen in your community. I think on the other side of it, like this is a very personal moment, right? Like these are people that they're having their lives ripped away from them. Their homes are burning down. I don't know, you know, how many people were lost, if any were, you know, but certainly belongings that, you know, were important to them. And so, you know, those are, I guess, from a perspective point of view, that's a weird thing to say, perspective point of view, but those are kind of the two sides that people can kind of to sit, and it's hard to, honestly, even as a photographer, it's hard to argue with either side. If someone's saying, you know, but this is so personal, and this is, I get it, I totally understand, but I also do see the importance of documenting moments that can, again, change perspectives, change your opinion, and change, hopefully, things for the better in your community.
Yeah, and we've definitely talked to this before, right? Like the power, certainly, and the security, and kind of the I don't know, the freedom, I suppose, right, of being a photographer, of being an artist. Like I've definitely felt that I'll just behave very differently. Like if I'm at a party just enjoying myself, or if I'm at a party documenting it, right? Like when I shot Pride, like whenever almost dropped the second F-bomb of the episode. But whenever we could have Pride parades and parties, you know what I mean? And how I, like just the power that I felt, and how I just was behaving very differently as a result of being behind that camera, right? Like that's really something that we can draw out of this story is, the magic that's there. The freedom, the power of being a photographer, and it is something really cool. And that's kind of what I think got me and Michael maybe addicted to this, right? Is Just same thing when you're in front of people with a guitar or just in front of people with a microphone or something like that. Just something about that construct. It makes you something else, right? Like we're not just a couple of guys anymore, man. We're photographers, you know. We're part of,
we're storytellers,
part of documenting history. Yeah, artists, storytellers for sure.
Yeah, man. But you know, unless you have anything else to say, I think that's a good amount of feedback there. We'll leave this link down below so you guys can obviously look back and read through it, look at the image, understand the photographer and his background a little bit better, and the context of the situation.
For sure. I've got like one more thing as well on this.
Yeah,
one
go
thing
for
that
it.
stood out to me when he was talking about the like chaos and everything going on. And like the adrenaline that was rushing through his body, like we have like some quotes here from the photographer, right? So interesting. It definitely spoke to me. One thing that I really like doing is watching horror movies, which not a lot of people. Michael, you a horror movie guy? We haven't really talked about this.
Yeah, I love them. I'm just not good at watching them.
Oh yeah. You get scared, and then Alexa has to hold you in her arms and pat your head until you calm down.
100%.
Otherwise, you're gonna have nightmares. You got to sleep with the light on.
I just sleep a little bit closer to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it, man. You want to feel safe. I cuddle Yoda here when I'm feeling. I have Yoda here.
Very nice.
But that's something that is very interesting to think about, like the adrenaline rush, you know, and that's something with like to bring it back as well to like music and stuff. Ever since I started my band, started Acid Kit, and like the adrenaline and how that changes you, right? It changes the way that you're acting, and you know we've kind of talked about this a little bit here, but yeah, in another way, like the power of having that camera, but also the adrenaline that you're feeling in that moment. And he's talking about like being in an actual. You ever been in a house fire? We can talk about that too. You ever been in a house fire?
Like not even close to that scale.
See, Michael tried to wrap it up, and I was like, nope, we're gonna keep going.
No, that's cool. Poor read on my end. But
cool. I got more stuff, dude. I'm a pro now. You're a
pro. We had a situation where the kitchen went up.
Yeah.
And
see, I've been in
the whole kitchen was a scrap. Yeah. Okay.
Scary.
Yeah.
Very scary.
It is terrifying. Yeah.
I wanted to get the F out of there.
I know. I was in the basement, and all of a sudden I see like ashes coming down. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on? Fire alarms start going off. I'm like, someone left something on the oven for way too long.
And it looks cool in the photo, but like you literally can't see anything because of the smoke, and also your eyes are burning, and also you can't see, and also you can't breathe. Anything. You just it's not very conducive to human beings being in a house fire. But I wouldn't recommend it. But if you are, I guess, take some photos. I don't know. I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like get out. Prioritize getting out. You know what I mean?
Prioritize getting out. That is the takeaway, I suppose. But if you can take some photos too, do that, I guess. And photojournalism is cool. And documenting life is good. And I guess we're going to... Yeah, like you said, I can see both sides of it, because if I was that dude with the dogs, I'd be like, yo, what are you doing?
Can you get this camera out of my face? Yeah,
like with these dogs and like not be taking photos right now. But but to that guy with the dogs, we're talking about you and your dogs right now on this podcast, and that wouldn't have happened. So anyways, you want to get out of here?
Let's do it.
Okay, so dear listeners, that was a podcast. It was a good one, actually. I feel really good about it. It's always fun getting together, tackling some photography-related topics, and bringing my focus back to photography. You know, because I think about a lot of different stuff, and I should think about photography and just focus on that. So that's what we do. That's what we do every week here on The Brothers. So make sure you come on back to that. Some other content. I mean, we've done this so many times, guys. You know, Mosh and the Dog, Michael Costa Music. You can go check out my channel, Jared Poirier. The main thing that I want to tell you guys, all that social media stuff, I mean, it's a bunch of BS, right? At the end of the day, there's one thing I want you guys to do. dear listeners, tell a friend in person about the Photography Brothers podcast.
Yes.
Right? That's all we ask.
Please.
That's all we ask. You could throw your computer off the balcony and huck your phone into traffic. And then
That didn't go well for Chair Girl, though. I mean, I don't know. Oh, boy.
Chair Girl, guest of the podcast, episode
Episode never, okay?
Episode never, Chair Girl. All right. So follow Chair Girl and tell a friend in person. Now that you can meet people in person again, got my second vax, I can hang out with my friends again, and I'll tell them about the PHOTOBROS podcast, the PHOTOBROS podcast, and I hope that you will as well. Okay, that's it, right?
That's it. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.